What if the thing you call intelligence is actually the reason you feel anxious, stuck, and exhausted all the time? What if thinking too much isn't making you wiser, but quietly draining your life force? Carl Jung believed that overthinking is not a sign of depth, it's a sign of inner imbalance. And most people don't even realize it's happening to them. In today's world, we are praised for analyzing everything. We think before we act, we think after we act, and then we think about why we thought in the first place. But Jung warned that when thinking dominates your inner world, it slowly disconnects you from something far more powerful: your instinct, your intuition, and your unconscious wisdom. According to Carl Jung, the mind was never meant to be a constant commentator. It was meant to be a tool. When that tool takes control, life begins to feel heavy. Decisions feel terrifying. Small problems feel overwhelming. And the soul begins to suffocate under the weight of endless thoughts. Jung observed that people who live only in their heads slowly lose touch with reality. They confuse thinking with living. They mistake mental activity for inner growth. But true psychological health, Jung said, comes from balance, not from drowning in thought. In this video, we'll explore why Carl Jung believed overthinking is dangerous, how it disconnects you from your true self, and what happens when the mind refuses to stay in its proper place. If you've ever felt trapped inside your own thoughts, this might explain more than you expect. Carl Jung believed that the modern human being suffers not because they think too little, but because they think too much in the wrong way. Overthinking, according to Jung, is not wisdom. It is often fear disguised as intelligence. When the mind becomes obsessed with control, analysis, and constant interpretation, it slowly disconnects the individual from life itself. Jung observed that the human psyche has multiple functions: thinking, feeling, sensation, and intuition. Psychological health comes from balance between these functions. But modern society overvalues thinking. From a young age, we are trained to analyze, judge, compare, and explain everything. Over time, thinking becomes dominant, while feeling and intuition are suppressed. This imbalance creates inner tension. When thinking takes over completely, the mind never rests. It replays conversations, imagines future scenarios, predicts failures, and reopens past wounds. Jung believed that this constant mental noise blocks access to the unconscious, the deeper source of creativity, healing, and guidance. The unconscious does not speak through logic. It speaks through symbols, emotions, dreams, and intuition. Overthinking drowns out that voice. Jung warned that people who overthink often believe they are being responsible or cautious. In reality, they are trying to avoid uncertainty. Thinking becomes a defense mechanism. Instead of experiencing life directly, they stay in their head where they feel safer. But safety in the mind comes at the cost of vitality. According to Jung, life must be lived forward, not solved like a mathematical problem. When a person tries to think their way through every emotion, decision, and relationship, they lose spontaneity. They hesitate. They doubt themselves. Action becomes delayed because the mind demands perfect certainty, something life never provides. Jung noticed that chronic overthinkers often struggle with anxiety and depression. This is because the psyche is overloaded. Thoughts pile on top of thoughts, creating a closed system with no release. The individual becomes trapped in what Jung called a neurotic loop, where thinking feeds anxiety, and anxiety feeds more thinking. Another danger Jung highlighted is that overthinking creates distance from reality. Instead of experiencing emotions, the person analyzes them. Instead of feeling pain, they label it. Instead of trusting intuition, they seek explanations. Over time, this creates emotional numbness. The person knows a lot about life but feels very little of it. Jung believed that wisdom does not come from excessive thinking, but from integrating thinking with lived experience. A thought that is not grounded in life becomes sterile. It repeats itself. It loses meaning. This is why highly intelligent people can still feel deeply confused and unfulfilled. Overthinking also inflates the ego. When the mind believes it must understand everything, it places itself above the natural flow of life. Jung warned that this leads to arrogance disguised as rationality. The ego assumes it knows better than instinct, emotion, or intuition. But this separation creates inner conflict. Jung emphasized that some things in life are meant to be lived, not understood. Love, grief, transformation, and meaning cannot be fully grasped by logic. When thinking tries to dominate these experiences, it destroys their depth. The person becomes disconnected from their own humanity. Dreams, Jung believed, are one of the first casualties of overthinking. When the conscious mind becomes too dominant, it ignores the messages of the unconscious. Dreams become chaotic, disturbing, or repetitive because the unconscious is trying desperately to be heard. Overthinkers often dismiss dreams as meaningless, cutting off a powerful source of inner guidance. Jung also observed that overthinking weakens decision-making. The more a person analyzes, the less confident they become. Every option appears flawed. Every choice feels risky. The individual becomes paralyzed. This is because intuition, which provides clarity and direction, has been silenced by excessive reasoning. At its core, Jung believed overthinking is a refusal to trust life. It is the mind saying, "If I can just think enough, I won't get hurt." But life does not work that way. Avoiding risk through thinking only creates psychological suffering. Jung did not argue against thinking itself. He argued against thinking without balance. Thought must serve life, not replace it. When thinking becomes compulsive, it turns against the individual. What once helped survival begins to sabotage inner peace. Carl Jung believed that the solution to overthinking is not to stop thinking, but to restore balance within the psyche. Freedom comes when thinking returns to its proper role, as a servant of life, not its master. The moment a person understands this, the inner struggle begins to ease. Jung taught that the unconscious is not an enemy of reason. It is a deeper intelligence. When people overthink, it is often because they have lost trust in this inner wisdom. Reconnecting with it requires learning to listen rather than control. This is why Jung placed such importance on dreams, symbols, and imagination. These are the natural languages of the unconscious. One of Jung's core practices was active imagination. Instead of analyzing every thought, the individual allows images, emotions, and symbols to emerge without judgment. This creates a dialogue between the conscious mind and the unconscious. Over time, the mind learns that it does not have to dominate. It can participate. Jung also believed that feeling is the great antidote to excessive thinking. Feeling is not emotional chaos, it is direct experience. When a person learns to feel rather than explain, the nervous system relaxes. Life becomes immediate again. Overthinkers often fear feeling because emotions feel uncontrollable. But Jung believed that what we avoid emotionally ends up controlling us mentally. Another path out of overthinking, Jung said, is grounding in the body. Thinking lives in abstraction. The body lives in reality. Physical activity, creativity, nature, and simple routines bring the psyche back into the present moment. When the body is engaged, the mind naturally quiets. Jung warned against the modern obsession with constant self-analysis. Introspection without action leads to stagnation. Sometimes the psyche heals not by understanding, but by living. Making a decision. Taking a step. Accepting uncertainty. Action breaks the cycle of rumination. He also emphasized the importance of accepting ambiguity. Overthinking thrives on the illusion that everything can be resolved mentally. Jung taught that maturity comes from holding opposites without rushing to conclusions. Life is complex. Not everything needs an answer. Learning to tolerate uncertainty is a sign of psychological strength. Jung believed that intuition is weakened by overthinking but never destroyed. It waits patiently. When the mind quiets, intuition reemerges naturally, offering clarity without force. Intuitive knowing feels calm, not obsessive. It guides without anxiety. A crucial shift Jung encouraged was moving from thinking about life to participating in life. The more a person lives authentically, through relationships, creativity, and purpose, the less power overthinking has. Meaningful engagement anchors the psyche. Jung also noted that overthinking often hides unresolved fear. Fear of failure. Fear of rejection. Fear of loss. When these fears are acknowledged and faced, The mind no longer needs to obsessively plan for every possible outcome. In Jung's view, wisdom is not the accumulation of thoughts, but the integration of mind, body, and soul. When thinking aligns with intuition and feeling, clarity replaces confusion. The mind becomes sharp, but not noisy. Ultimately, Jung believed that peace comes when we trust life enough to stop mentally resisting it. Thinking too much is dangerous not because thought is bad, but because life cannot be lived from the head alone. When the mind learns to listen, the soul finally speaks. And in that silence, something profound happens, not less intelligence, but deeper understanding. If this message spoke to you, take it as a reminder: you are not broken for thinking deeply. But thinking was never meant to replace living. As Carl Jung taught, real clarity comes when the mind learns to listen, not control. If you found value in this insight, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more deep psychology and spiritual wisdom. Share this with someone who feels trapped inside their own thoughts. Sometimes, one realization is enough to bring the mind back to peace.